Hello, it's Judith. Today I'm showing you how I made this tote bag. The tote bag, it's a Marc Jacob inspired tote bag. I actually downloaded a free pattern from, and I will spell out the name, Miko Craft, and I will put that information in my description box below if you want to check it out. Here I'm showing you I have all my pieces cut out, the liner plus the outer fabric, and I also already put my interfacing material onto the outer fabric, so I'm ready to start putting this together. So I'm starting out right now working on the handles for the bag. I cut out 2 strips of material for the long handle. It's 8 centimeters by 82 centimeters, and I cut out 2 strips that were 8 centimeters by 44 centimeters for the shorter piece of the handle. Here you're seeing me using double-sided tape. I placed that in the center of the strip for the handle, and I'm going to fold the material inwards towards that tape and press that down. Just keep pressing it down by hand, and then I'll move on to the shorter handle, and I'll do that, repeat the process for the other pieces. Okay, again, I'm going to repeat that same process for the other pieces that I have here. Here I'm showing you where I folded my strips in half and marked the half mark, because I'm going to place that shorter strip onto the longer strip after I place my two-sided tape on them. So that's the next step. Now I'm going to top stitch the edge of the shorter handle on both the handles, the shorter portion of the handles. Okay, apologies. I had to charge my gimbal, and so I was holding my phone by hand. But just showing you here that I'm coming in 26 centimeters on both sides, and I'm marking the strap there, the handle there, because I'm going to fold it over as I did it with that one already folded, and I'm going to stitch where I folded in that marking point. So come in 26 centimeters on both sides, fold it over, and then top stitch on that edge right there where it's folded over. Okay, I'm almost ready to place or stitch my handles onto the front of the bag. I've already marked the center of the front of the bag, and just to show my interfacing is there. And the distance between the two straps is 12 centimeters, just to show you that. And the height that I marked was 21 centimeters. And that measurement of the width I measured of the strap was 4 centimeters there. So now I'll pin these down and stitch them down. Okay, here I'm showing where I'm ready to sew the bottom of the bag to the sides of the bag. So I'm just going to place right sides together. I'll pin one side to the bottom, and then I'll pin or clip the other side of the bag to the other side of the bottom of the bag, and then stitch that all together. Okay, I already stitched the bottom of the bag to the sides of the bag. So now I'll come back and do a top stitch on those lines right there. I'll do a top stitch on that bottom of the bag on both sides. Okay, I finished top stitching the bottom of the bag, so I am ready to move on. And now I'll put this to the side, and then I'll start on my liner now. Okay, I already marked my zipper opening in chalk, and I'll try to remember to put the measurements below in the description box. It's kind of hard to describe, so I'll try to do my best on that. Now I will sew around that marking. Okay, now I'm going to tuck my zipper opening under, and I had problems doing this, so I had to take it over to my ironing board and give it a good press and then pin it down, and then we'll put this piece to the side. Now we're going to take the pocket lining and we're going to stitch the zipper right there at the top. Okay, now we're going to add that zipper opening piece. We have the zipper attached to the liner at the top, and then we're going to add this piece here with the opening and stitch right there on that bottom portion right there. So I'm going to stitch there and move on to the next space. Okay, we have that attached. Now we're going to open up that zipper track and add the zipper pull. Okay, now we're going to flip up that panel to make a pocket. I'm going to pin it on the back, and then I'm going to flip it over and top stitch on the front side. The front side is where that opening is by the zipper, where the zipper is exposed. So pin on the back, and then I'm going to flip it over and top stitch on the front. Okay, now that I'm done with the front portion of the lining piece, I'm going to at the side seams to the pocket. So I'm just going to flip this out of the way, and then I'll come and do the side seams on that pocket that we just created in the back. Okay, I finished my side seams on that pocket, and I can trim off that excess fabric. So that part is done, and you can take those clips off and you can unzip it and see what the inside looks like. So the pocket is done, and we'll move on to the next part. Okay, now we're going to attach the bottom portion of the lining piece like we did with the outer piece. So we'll stitch all three of those together, and then we'll top stitch that bottom portion when we're done. Okay, the bottom of the lining piece is top stitched, so now we'll move on to the next part. Okay, now we're working on the recessed zipper. So we're just going to open up the zipper and fold it down, and then we're going to pin it, and then we're going to make a small stitch along the side of that zipper. And this part is a little tricky. I think it's supposed to be folded at somewhat of an angle, but you know, I did the best I could with this. Okay, after stitching that folded piece down, we're going to separate the zipper and start on the next piece. Now we're going to take the lining piece right here and lay it on top of the outer fabric for both those for the recessed zipper, and then we're going to stitch on one side. Now we're going to add the zipper teeth to each side of the fabric we just made. You fold it over. I already done one, so I'm just going to fold that over and clip it, and then we'll stitch it. Okay, I've stitched both of my tabs, and now I'm just going to clip the corners, and then I'll turn it right side out. Okay, now the next step, I'm going to top stitch these tabs all the way around. This is just to show you what it looks like after I did the top stitching and I'm testing out the zipper, and then I'll move on to the next part. Now I'm going to separate the tab and pin it to the top portions of the liner and stitch it. Here I'm using two-sided tape on the edge of the liner, on the wrong side of the liner, and I'm going to place it on top of the fabric, the outer fabric, wrong side of the outer fabric of the bag, and press it down and make it as flat as possible. Here I'm folded down the top of the bag. I'm going to fold it down once again. I'm going to fold it down twice, and then I'm going to sew a line and then a second line. So it's going to be two seam lines after we fold it down twice. Okay, now the top stitching is done on the bag, so I will move that to the side, and now I'll start on the side panels. And I've already added two-sided tape to the liner, the wrong side of the liner portion of the panel, and I'm going to place that on top of, once I take the strips off, I'm going to place that on top of the inside, the wrong side of the outer fabric right there. So I'm just going to place that on top for both panels. Now we're going to fold down the top of the side panel twice, and then I'll stitch there and make two top stitching lines. Okay, I'm showing now my side panel's done. I folded down the top and did those double stitches. Now I will focus on the corners, and so I can stitch on the corners. And I will admit, this is a technique I need to work on to ensure that once you insert those side panels, it's going to fit in to the bag. Here I'm showing you that I made my stitch lines. I marked it with chalk and just came down, so I'll fold that out so you'll see what that looks like. Okay, now I'm going to focus on making the D-ring tabs. I placed the two-sided tape in the middle of the tabs, and so I'm just going to fold the material inwards onto that tape, and then we'll insert it into the D-rings. Okay, before I insert these tabs into the D-ring, I'm going to stitch all the way around, do a top stitch all the way around. Here you can see where I've already inserted one tab into the D-ring, and I'll insert the second one and fold that down, and then I'll stitch it onto the side pocket. And you can stitch these on by making a square and then making an X in the middle, however you desire. Okay, as you can see, I already have one panel clipped onto the bag, and then I'll proceed to do the second one. And I'm just marking the center of that panel and finding the center point on the bottom of the bag and just pinning all the way around. Here I'm just showing my technique. I decided to just come down on both sides first and then focus on the bottom. It felt like the material's a little bit too bulky to go from down and all the way around. Okay, so the bag is about done. I'll trim, I already trimmed the edges there, that excess material, and I'll turn the bag right side out. Okay, now the instructions call to do a top stitch on that side panel. I ended up just doing the top portion. I didn't go all the way around because the material I used, which is canvas, was just too much. It was too thick, and that's a lesson learned for next time. Next time I'll probably use a denim type material or something with cotton, because that canvas was just way too tough to work with. But that's a lesson learned. So I'll do something different next time. So now I'll just add my zipper pull, and I also made a really quick tab for the end of that zipper, and that is it. The bag is pretty much done at this point. I'll just tuck that tab in, and also I purchased a couple of shoulder straps from Amazon, so to give me an option if I want to wear the bag as a shoulder bag. And this is a color I thought complemented the bag well. Okay, here I'm showing you where I added a scarf to the handle of the bag just to give it a different look. In closing, I would like to say if you enjoyed this video or if it was helpful in any way, please consider giving this video a like, and also please consider subscribing to my YouTube channel. And as always, thanks again for watching. Goodbye.